Welcome to the podcast. Welcome. I am your host. My name is Jared Elrod, aka the Iron Chaplain. This is Beneath the Plates. This is episode 1. So let's set the tone a little bit for what this podcast is going to be about. This podcast is going to be about, well, on the surface, fitness and the fitness industry. Hold up. I'm going to bring a tradition from an old podcast I did years ago called Geek Church. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Jared, aka the Iron Podcast. Iron Chaplain, rather. I always start the show with a little bit of a cracking of a drink. So there we go. Got our sugar-free or no sugar monster. Let's jump into this. The idea behind this is I'm going to be interviewing people. Well, it's really just my podcast to talk about the fitness industry. Kind of a heavier emphasis on bodybuilding, but the fitness industry in general. There'll be really 2 kinds of episodes. A solo episode, which is what you're getting today, where I'm typically, not today, today's my origin story essentially. I'm basically interviewing myself. I'm my own guest today, but where I will just talk about something in the fitness industry. Maybe it's news, maybe it's a topic, whatever it may be. And then other episodes I will have a guest on, sometimes live in the studio. I'm actually still building out the studio to accommodate other people. And then a lot of times we'll just be online. We'll just be chatting through like a FaceTime type thing. So with that said, today's episode is going to be my story. I'm going to be interviewing others and talking about their story into fitness. So today is mine. First off, some background when I was younger. I've never been a huge sports kid, but my goal in life was to be Batman. So I came from fitness as more of the superhero side than the sports side. I did in high school. Well, I did basketball as a younger kid. Then I was homeschooled, so I did a little bit of basketball, in junior high. I got into high school, went to public school, and I did water polo my freshman year, and I swam freshman, sophomore, and senior year. My junior year, I was commuting to film school. That's a whole other story. So I was not doing any sports. I did go out for the water polo team there, but I was having to leave my house at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning to drive an hour and a half. I was commuting to school every day, and it was just too much. So after a couple days of tryouts, I just kind of quit. I was like, I can't do this. Plus the physical exhaustion of being on a water polo team, and then later in the season trying to be on a swim team, I'm going to end up dying on the road. As it was, I was barely staying awake. So I have more of an aquatics background. That probably gives away the fact that I grew up in California, currently living in Nevada, via California to Virginia to New York, and now Nevada. So the 4th state I've lived in my lifetime. And so yeah, that's kind of the sports. It wasn't a huge, so there was that. I grew up working out with my grandpa as a kid. In fact, look at I pulled this out. I was actually just cleaning up for getting this. I found this. So I grew up looking at this kind of stuff. Check this out. How cool is this? This old school Gold's Gym. There was always muscle magazines around the house, his house. I'd go stay. So I was constantly looking through muscle magazines. I'd go to the gym with him and work out. Even in high school, it would have been my junior year, the year I wasn't swimming, I would stay the night at his house once a week, him and my grandma. And he was going to a gym at that point. Normally he had a garage gym with buddies he would go to that I grew up going to. This time it was he had an actual commercial. It wasn't commercial, but it was a paid gym. It was a buddy of his who started an actual public gym, and I would go there. So I'd work out with him on Thursday nights, Wednesday nights. Anyways, I'd go up there. I'd stay with them, and yeah, blah blah blah. I'd get up and go to school the next day. So fun times. Grew up with a background in weightlifting. He did correct me a couple years ago. I was like, hey, and I referred to his body. He's like, no. I was not a bodybuilder. I was a weightlifter. Okay. This is when I was first getting kind of into bodybuilding and kind of stuff like that a couple years ago. So all that to say, it's kind of been a background. But then I got fat, really fat. So in high school, I think I started my freshman year. I was 6'4", I think. 6'3", 6'4". I think it was 6'3". I started high school my freshman year. I was the second tallest kid in school. The only kid taller than me. So I think I was 6'3", I think he was 6'4". He was the captain of the basketball team. He was a senior. I was the second tallest kid in school. 230, a little chubby. Got on the swim team, very quickly lost that. So my very first swim picture, I'm a little bit chubby. Not a lot, just a little bit, the love handles, a little bit in the face. I'm a freshman. And then I get pretty lean pretty quick. So I spent most of high school rocking. So I get up to 6'7" very quickly. Probably, I think I hit 6'6", 6'7" my sophomore year. So that first year I grew quite a bit. So I'm like 6'7", and I'm rocking like 220, 225 pounds, 230, somewhere in there. Between like 225, 235, depending on the year. And if I'm in swim season, not in swim. So probably more like 235 over the summer, 220, 225 during swim season. I do my junior year, I dropped down to like 215. People were like, are you okay? You're losing a lot of weight. I was commuting every day. I wasn't working out. I was commuting every day. And I was just not eating a whole lot. Like my parents, I wouldn't ask them for food money and they'd forget. And so I'd get like $20 on Monday and then I had $20 all week for food money. And so I started dropping weight. I got down to like 215, was pretty thin. Graduate high school. Kept it off pretty decent for a few years, ended up getting married, kind of keep it off a little bit, and then at some point I just kind of start adding weight, and I just keep gaining weight basically. So then we fast forward maybe, about 10 years. So then I'm in about 10 years of my marriage. We've moved around, we've been youth pastoring, doing a bunch of stuff. I've been wanting to lose weight, I've slowly been gaining weight, but just never enough to really do anything, to change my diets, to change, that kind of stuff. I tried some stuff, did Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Body, lost like 20 pounds, got down to because I got up to over 300. Got down to like 215, I'm sorry, 295, 285. I was talking to my buddies this morning, I couldn't quite remember. But right in that area, gained it back, kind of went through some bad times, depressed, basically just eating, that was working and eating. It was like all I was doing. I was literally working as an entrepreneur. Well, first I gained some weight. I was working at a car lot, and I'd stop at the grocery store every day on the way to work, and I'd get like a bunch of croissants and a Mountain Dew and a Monster, just all, I started gaining weight, okay? So right after leaving, so I'd gotten that weight down, like 285, 290, somewhere in there. Was feeling pretty good. Get this job at the car lot, start to put it back on immediately. I get to the point where after a year, I leave the car lot. I was like, I'm going to work for 1 year and I'm going to quit. And I ended up getting fired at 1 year and 1 week. And I started up my own business. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm going to do it. I'm going to get rich and have all the freedom. I also started at this time kind of picking up fitness a little bit. So I'm 330 now. So 330, 335, 336. I'm walking every morning. I'm trying I don't really want to work out. I didn't really have a lot of money because I don't have a job. I'm trying to start this business. And I had a buddy who was trying to coach me, and I was like, the only rule is you can't tell me to go get a gym membership. I can't afford that. I wanted to get into Brazilian jiu-jitsu. That was like $120 a month. I just couldn't. So I was walking every morning. And so I was kind of eating a little bit better, but when I say eating a little bit better, it means on Friday nights when we do pizza night, I was eating 4 pieces instead of 5, or I was eating 5 pieces, but I wasn't eating breadsticks, or I was getting a 2-liter Mountain Dew and I was pouring 1 glass and then I would pour the rest out and not drink the rest of it. So I'm trying, but I had no discipline. I wasn't going super well. So this goes on for a little bit, and then we moved to Virginia, and all bets are out the window. The position I took ended up being horrible. It was a living hell for 4 years. So I'm eating my emotions and my depression. I'm sitting at a desk all day, Monday through Thursday. I'm sitting at a desk all day long, just eating snacks, candy, drinking 4 or 5 regular Monsters at 300 whatever calories a piece. No, I was 3 or 4 a day, mostly 3 a day, sometimes 4 a day. 5 a day came later. And like I said, depressed, eating everything in sight, like going to Wawa every day and just eating crap from there, I started gaining weight. So I started gaining quite a bit of weight. And so and I'm driving Uber and Lyft at night as well. So I'm sitting in the car some more. I typically finish the night off by going to our favorite restaurant, which was America's Best. Not the eyeglass place. They had like wings and deli sandwiches. And I'd get a bunch of food and I'd go home. So I'd work during the day as a teacher. I'd get off of school, go home, take a few hours off, wait for the evening, go drive, Uber and Lyft, get done around, 12. Well, the restaurant closed at midnight or 12:30. Anyways, I'd go get food. I come home, we eat. I kind of hang out until 1:30, 2 in the morning, go to sleep, wake up the next day, then be so depressed. I got to go back to this stupid job, these horrible coworkers, this whole thing. And I'm just being real with you guys. That's going to be the point of Beneath the Plates. We're going to get really real. If I'm going to ask my guests to get real, I got to get real. So kind of hating life. Like, honestly, I wouldn't say suicidal, but there were times I was literally would daydream about like, maybe if I'm driving and like I drift off and hit a truck and I just don't have to deal with any of this anymore. So, and then I even got to the point where I was like, my family might be better off. Like, yeah, they'd be sad in the beginning. And I know there's some hard, but like my family would take them in, they'd be better off. Like I remember there was a pretty low point where I'm just starting off, we're just boom, right off the bat, huh? There was a point where we spent in the middle of the summer in Virginia, hot, humid, and our power was shut off for like 2.5 weeks. So every night, like, we're trying to sleep. And we got this little fan plugged into like one of these batteries, right? Running off a little USB battery. I'd have to take it to work and charge it. My wife and infant are stuck at home all day with no power. I'm at school, working at a school with my older 2 kids. So we're there at least during the day with air. And so then I feel guilty because I'm sitting in an air-conditioned room, come home. I don't even know what we were doing for food because the fridge wasn't working. And then try to go to sleep at night and it's hot, it's humid, we have this tiny little fan, and I just couldn't sleep. So I'm just sitting there all night just thinking about like how much of a failure in life I am. Again, eating my emotions, daydreaming about how much better off my family would be without me. Even though it would be in the short term, it would be rough. Like, like I said, family would take them in, they'd have a good place to live, they'd have all this stuff, right? So dealing with all this, I get pretty big. I don't know exactly how big I got, but I got, I went from low 330s to the high 340s. Just like feeling stuck, to be honest. And then we moved to New York. And it actually got worse. Like the position was awesome. Like that got all better, right? So life got way better, but then the pandemic happened. And so now I gain even more weight because now I'm working. Like I'm no longer depressed. I have a purpose in life. Everything is great. We're in upstate New York. The food's amazing. I'm a youth pastor, so that means you're eating a Little Caesars pizza at least once a week. We had an amazing pizza and wing place just down the road from us. It's the pandemic. And people went one way or the other. They either got really fat and did, or they got really fit. I went the fatter way. I gained even more weight. I am working basically 6.5 days a week at like 15 hours, 20 hours, sometimes it's 20 hours a day. I was a media director, I was youth pastor, and media was a small side thing I did for the church. It became my main job. We were closed down for those 6 weeks, and I was working, like I said, 15 plus hours a day, 6.5 days a week. I say 6.5 because, so I'd work all day. We were producing 12 hours of content every week. So we had like multiple shows. Like there was, the pastor had a show, him and his wife had a show, my wife had a show, I had a youth show, and a couple other ladies in the church. So there was an elderly lady who had like a Bible study show, and then there was a lady who had like a kids show. Our kids director had a kids show. So we had it was 12 hours of content every week that I was shooting by myself, organizing, editing, uploading, and then live streaming 12 hours of content on Sundays. The half a day off I got was I would be up from Saturday night to Sunday. I would be up all night long. I'd work until 3:30, 4:30 in the morning. Everything would be done. The videos would go off to upload. Dear God, please let them upload because they have to go live in like, well, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, I don't remember what time I went live. It's like 5, 6 hours. I'd go to sleep. But not knowing if something errored out with these videos uploading, every hour or so I'd wake up, I'd go check the computer really quick. Okay, it's all still uploading. Or, oh, it errored out, let me restart it. I'd have this like fitful sleep from like 3:30, 4:30 in the morning until it was time. I think it was 9 that we went live. And then I would basically go live, make sure everything was going live. And I'd basically, our TV, so the first part was the service that was pre-recorded. And I'd be awake for that. We'd be interacting with that. And then the service was over. And then boom, it went into all this supplemental content we did. Fun times. It was actually a lot of fun. And it actually got me, all my film skills got real rusty. This got me out of, so this makes all this stuff way easier because it got me into live streaming. And I was loving it. It was just hard. And then I would, after the service part was over and it was live streaming all the content, we would leave that streaming on the TV, and I would lay on the couch and I would basically sleep on the couch, one ear kind of listening, so every so often I could like turn and like look and see, okay, it's still going fine, everything's still working. I'd have a laptop running and I would take these little partial naps, and then whenever it was done in the evening, then I'd go outside to be with the family, and I'd basically lay a blanket out and go to sleep on the grass while the family was hanging out outside. And then later for like, I think a Father's Day or something, they got me a hammock, and then I'd sleep in the hammock. And then it would be nighttime and I'd get up and that evening maybe we'd have dinner and hang out. So yeah, it was crazy, okay? So I was drinking 4 or 5, these weren't even out yet. These Zero Sugars came out like literally the week I was moving out of New York. I didn't start drinking them until I got here in Nevada. So I was drinking 4, sometimes 5 Monsters a day to try to stay awake. There'd be days I'd be so fried. Again, I'm loving this, so I'm not complaining. Like, and are you good? And I'm like, no, I'm good. I was stupid. And I needed help. Eventually I got some help. I got a couple people who came and helped do some of the editing. I was still doing the majority of it, but it was nice to have just a little bit. My daughter at one point was transcribing the lyrics for worship, so I didn't have to do that anymore. I had my youth assistant who was like, we don't run youth anymore. What can I do? I'm like, nothing, because you don't know how to edit. You don't have a computer. He bought a MacBook Pro or a MacBook Pro, learned how to edit. So he started helping out with some of the stuff. He actually took the multicam editing of the services off my plate. And then there's a lady in the church whose husband had a video production business, and he edited a couple episodes of something. So I had like 3 or 4 weeks where he was editing a show, and that made that kind of nice. But even then I was doing most of it myself. I wish I'd had this ATEM switcher I'm using now. That would have made things a lot easier. We tried to order it. It was back ordered for like 8 months. If you remember, you couldn't get tech equipment during this time. Like everyone, like businesses, churches, everyone bought up all the tech equipment and there was nothing available. So we're running all this. There'd be times I would just walk out and like out of my office, out into like the foyer area, and we have these big windows, and I would just stare out the window. So anyways, I get up to, I don't know for sure. Okay, let me preface this by saying I actually don't know my highest. I have a guess, and I'm going to tell you that in a second, because I was so ashamed. So I ended up recording a video, and it was supposed to be a promo video for a youth game night we were having. So I dressed up as a character. It was kind of Blippi inspired, the character. I'd bought in this Nerf rival gun. I put together this character kind of loosely based off of Blippi, and I'm like trying to be this character, and I record this video. My son helps me. I go to edit it, and I don't know if I broke down crying, but inside I did. I don't know if I did outside, but I was like, oh, okay, this is getting bad. And I watched it, and I didn't edit it. I did not use that video. I have it on a hard drive somewhere. Maybe I'll pull it up for this. We'll see. And I remember looking at it and going, and what I could think of is, do you remember that? What is that? I can't think of the name. It's with John Cusack, And it's one of those trapped in your own mind movies where he's like at a hotel and people are being murdered, but then at the very end of it, you realize like that this entire time has been a therapy session, and there's been the different personalities fighting for control of the body, and the body is this like huge, fat, bald serial killer guy. And I was like, I look like him. And I'd had my head shaved, well, not shave, but like buzzed at the time. And I was like, this is getting bad. I gotta do something. And then a lot of it came down to, and I'll talk about this later, but there was a couple things that kind of switched. And I was like, I need to do something. So that's where I was. I believe I was over 360. I don't know for sure because I was so ashamed that I started trying to work on some stuff. I didn't weigh until about 2 months into trying to get healthier, and I was like 254. And I knew I had lost some weight. I estimated around 10 pounds. So I'm like over 330, not verified because I wouldn't. I was like, I'm too ashamed to even get on a scale. Well, okay, for one of our scales we had, it would just error out. I would stand on it and it'd be like 3, it'd start counting up and it would just go error. And I couldn't even weigh. So I was like, so I get down to like I think the highest I have logged is like 254 point something, maybe 255 or 256. I'd have to check in my app. And so I'm pretty sure I was a good 360 something. So I started trying to lose weight. And in the beginning, it was hard because I wanted to lose weight, but I didn't actually want to do the stuff to lose weight. I just wanted the outcome. And so I was struggling. I'd been trying for years. Back in Virginia, I basically felt like, again, for background, you know, I'm a minister. I'm a pastor of 2 churches. I'm a chaplain. So I say Iron Chaplain in my title because I'm I have a chaplaincy endorsement from the Assemblies of God. And I'm a youth pastor at the time. I felt like God was like, you need to lose weight, you need to get in shape to do some of the things I want you to do. Like you can't look like this, you can't be like this. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe now's the time. And so like I spent like 2 days like, okay, I'm gonna not get a Monster tomorrow. I'm not gonna eat like that. I'm gonna do this. And then I would. And after like 2 or 3 days, I was like, yeah, I can't lose weight. And so then in New York, now this happens. And same thing, I feel like God speaks to me again. You know, the things I'm gonna have you do, you can't look like this. He gives me a vision of what I'm supposed to look like. And so I'm like, all right. So I start, you know, setting off towards looking like that. I start setting off to do the work. And it was a lot of work. So my wife at this point had been for however, like I think 6 months, she'd been doing Weight Watchers. She'd been going to the track every day. And so she's like, all right, bye. I'm going to go walk to the track. Like I'd go for walks, but like she's like going, she's trying to do her thing. And so she's over there eating like her little Weight Watcher, like healthy food and tracking her point. And I'm sitting there like eating pizza, drinking Monsters, yeah, one of my favorite things was those flat pretzels, and I'd dip it in cream cheese, and I'd sit there and eat like half a block of cream cheese and a bag of flat pretzels and drink 1 or 2 Monsters. And I'm like, oh yeah, that sucks that you're headed out to go walk and you're going to come back and eat like, you're going to get some almond butter and spread it over like one of those rice patty things. And I'm sitting here eating pizza and breadsticks and drinking Monsters, and you're going to go walk, and I'm sitting here playing video games, and I'm going to keep playing video games. Sucks to be you. But then I start, and it was a couple things that kind of happened, to be honest. Like one of them was, I feel like I was like, no, you really need, like, you're not going to be able to do what I need you to do unless you change how you look. And having that vision. And then 2 was, I was like, oh, I'm not going to know my grandkids. Like, I'm going to meet them, but probably not even all of them. Like, I'm going to die. And I'm not going to get to meet and know my grandkids. And I'm not going to get to have an influence. Like I said, I grew up working out with my grandpa. One of my grandfathers passed away, 2019, 2020. So most of my life had him. And then my other grandfather's still alive. He's in his later 80s. Not the best health, but he's still alive, you know, and he's out there in Oklahoma. You know, I pick up the phone, call him, whatever. Big influence in my life. I'm like, I'm not going to be that for my grandkids. I'm not going to be that influence for my grandkids. They're going to hear stories about me. Not a single one of my grandkids is going to remember me. They're going to hear stories about me, and I'm probably not going to even get to meet all of them, just some of them. I need to make some changes. So I started doing just that. And I knew how hard it was for me. I had wanted for years at the church in New York, several people were into CrossFit and fitness, and I talked to them and I was just like, I just can't do it. So what I actually did is I spent my first, I think it's 3 months, could be as little as 2 months. I think it was 3 months. I knew myself enough where I was like, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna start doing anything. So what I would do is I said, I have to brainwash myself. I have to change my mental programming. So for 3 months, my wife would get up, bye. I'd be playing video games, eating my stuff, and she'd go out to walk, and I said, okay, that's my trigger. She'd go out to walk, I'd grab my cell phone, I'd pull up YouTube, and I'd watch people eat healthy food. I had tried in Virginia to eat salads and lettuce and all this kind of stuff, and I'd made like 3% improvement. So I was like, okay, when she goes to walk and work out, I'm gonna watch people eat healthy food. I gotta change my mindset and my connection relationship to food. So what I did is I started watching people eat food, and then I said, okay, I can't add healthy food right now. It's disgusting, it's gross, I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna start programming myself. So for 3 months, what I did was I watched I remember pulling up like Gary V episodes, like daily V episodes of him eating salads and sushi. I'm like, let me just watch Gary V. He's a big motivation in my life. He's, I respect him. I've wanted to be like him in different aspects for years. Let me watch him eat healthier food. And then I was like, okay, what I can do is I can start to, I'm not gonna be able to eat healthier food, and I'm not going to be able to stop eating the unhealthy food. So as I'm on this side, I'm watching people trying to get a new connection with this food. Over here, let me just eat less of the unhealthy food. I'm not gonna cut it out, but let me eat less of it. So I went from drinking regular Monsters to, okay, well, my third Monster of the day can be zero, the Ultra Zero or whatever. And then I got to where, okay, I'll drink Ultra Zeros all day in the office, and I'll drink one, these weren't out yet, one regular Monster at the end of the day when I get home with dinner, and during the day in the office, because we had Monster stock there, I'll drink the Ultra Zeros. The purples, the whites, sometimes the stupid oranges when I ran out of the purples and the whites. The purples were my favorite, whites are my second favorite. I did not like, that sounded weird. The purples, the whites, the oranges. I'm talking about crayons. The orange was not my favorite, and it was definitely I'm out of the others. We need to do an order. And so yeah, that's what I started off with. And then I got to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go with my wife to the track. But I'm not gonna do any of this exercise stuff. I'm just gonna walk around the track and listen. So then again, I take my headphones, or I take my phone, I take my headphones. These are actually still the exact same pair. These are still working. I've had these forever. And I would listen, no joke, I would walk the track. So she's like walking and she's doing all these little HIIT exercise things. And I'm walking the track, like barely, super slow. Like you're not even like walking your dog, below walking your dog level. And I'm sitting there and I am listening to Jocko, to Goggins, to, Andrew Tate hadn't really hit yet, but to all these guys talking about, E.T., all these guys talking about like working hard. I got The Rock in there, I got some Arnold in there, and I'm just walking. Right? Listening to these guys talking about like being hard. And so I slowly start speeding up a little bit more. Can we walk at a normal pace? Okay, let me walk a little bit faster. Let me do like these little hits. So I marked off like, it was at a junior college, and so it's the track. And so I was like, okay, mark off the sections, I'll walk a little faster. And then I got to where after, I don't know, however many months, 6 months or so, I would, I started doing HIIT exercises where I would walk the long part of the track, and then I'd get to the corners, the shorter corners, and I would jog that, like a slow jog, like people who are power walking. It's about like the speed of a power walker. We'd be keeping up with each other. A slow jog around the corner, and then I'd walk the long part, and then run the slow part, and then I would start to change. Okay, so I'm going to start here. I'm going to go, and I'll stop here. And I kept extending that out, And then it was, okay, I'll run the longer parts, I'll walk the shorter parts. And I started lowering those. And I started increasing my running. Then it was like, hey, let me see if I can do an entire track or entire loop, which is like, depending on if you're on the inside or the outside, just under, just over, whatever, right around a quarter of a mile. And I would start, or was it an eighth of a mile? Anyways, I can run. So then it was, okay, I'll walk around, I'll walk a mile to warm up. We'd walk 5-ish blocks. Okay, I'll walk around however much I would do to warm up. And then let me run a lap, and then walk a lap, and then run a lap, and then walk a lap. And I just kept increasing. Then I got to the point where, so, I'm losing some weight. I'm down to like, 330s at this point, back where I was back in California before I went to the East Coast. So I've gotten all that East Coast weight off, and I'm back down to the 330s. Woohoo! Again, this is months. And so I start doing, at that point, is I start running. And I get where I can start to run. Jog, slow jog. And I get to where I'm jogging about 5 miles a day. So I do 2.5, 3 in the morning. And so what we would do is we get to the point where, again, this is after like 6 months of stuff. I get to the point where, so at some point in here, I start going to the gym. I get a Planet Fitness membership. And that was pathetic. And I'd go there in my sweatpants, like literally like pajama, not even sweatpants, like flannel or Christmas pajama pants, and sitting there in a t-shirt, and I'd hold the dumbbells and I'd look in the mirror and I'd be like, I just want to be to the point. And I had this like imaginary point, and I was like, I don't want to go through this part, and I'm terrified of hurting myself, so I'm barely doing anything, low intensity, long breaks. But I get to the point where we get up in the morning, and it varied, but on average what we would do is we'd get up in the morning, we'd go walk the track, and then we'd get in the car, walk back home, get in the car, drive to Planet Fitness, and we'd work out there for however long, and then we'd go into work. I think we'd get into work around 9. I normally get there early, but for this part, I start going in like right at 9. So that way I have time to do all this fitness stuff. Go home, take a quick shower, get dressed, get to the office by 9. So we're getting up early. We're getting up at like, 5:30 in the morning doing this stuff. Sometimes I hit Planet Fitness first and the track later. During the winter when it's cold, like freezing cold and snowy, we'd go when it was cold, when it was raining. But when it was like really bad, like you can run and not even ever warm up. We'd just go to Planet Fitness, and I'd do the treadmill. She would row, I would do the treadmill, and so I would do 3 miles on the treadmill, doing the HIIT, walking, running, back and forth, kind of like a HIIT type thing on the treadmill. And that's what we did for however long. I ended up, like I said, over 6+ months, I ended up getting back down to like in the 330s. I'm getting more and more into like the bodybuilding thing. I'm starting to like watch like Jesse James West, C-Bomb. I get into protein powder. I was like, I'm never gonna take supplements. Like, to me, protein powders, that's all that, putting that stuff in. No, I would never do that kind of stuff. And so I started doing protein powder, which was like a big deal for me. I started off with C-Bum's protein powder, really good. I just didn't love the flavors. I ended up switching to Jocko. Those are pretty good. Eventually, I get it now. I now currently pretty much exclusively. Every now and then I'll be like in a different town at like a Dick's or something, and I'll get some crazy like chocolate chip cookie, whatever version of one, but I typically stick with First Form, and I actually currently am not even using protein powder right now, and I haven't been for a few months, but that's another story. I start eating better, I start working on, sorry, the camera shut off, it got too hot, so if it does it again, I might have to take a quick break, a little bit of a longer break there, which doesn't matter for you, because you don't know if I just stop for 3 minutes or 3 days. All right, let me see if I can catch up to where I was talking about. Working out, all that kind of stuff. Oh, the protein powders. I start eating a little bit better, and not like great, but like I start tracking with like MyFitnessPal. Well, I actually had a different app, V-Sync. We bought some scale, and it's still showing it's hot, so it's probably gonna cut off again here. So it's like I'm using this app to track macros. Working out, I start buying gym equipment, so I now have Planet Fitness, and I also have my basement gym. So if I don't want to drive, because it's like 15 minutes across town to Planet Fitness, and if that's, I can just go downstairs, or if sometimes I go to Planet Fitness and do, it wasn't the greatest workout. Sometimes I go in the evening, I go and pick up a second workout, just working on stuff, start eating oatmeal, doing overnight oats, just everything to try. I'm now starting to cut some stuff out of my diet add some kind of pseudo healthy stuff in, and I'm just doing everything I can to make little improvements. And over about a year, I don't know, year and a half or so, I'm doing pretty good. I get down to 315. That was my goal by Christmas. I get down to 315. Christmas morning, I woke up, I was still a little bit over. I was like, I insist on being down to this amount. So I basically didn't eat anything. I went downstairs and I was like, I'm not going to eat or drink anything. I'm going to do a workout and I'm going to weigh again. I'm determined to be this weight before Christmas. Because Tristan, you've seen me do a couple workouts with Tristan. He actually followed us out to Nevada from New York. So they were going to be coming over that night for Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. So it's like, he's bringing food. I'm going to gain a couple pounds, like I want to hit this weight. So I do a workout, I come in, I weigh in, I'm down to like 314 point something. I'm like, yes. And so, yeah, I'm working that. He gets back into, he used to do, some bodybuilding, some powerlifting, some different things, and he kind of got out of it too. So he kind of gets back into it with me. He starts building a little bit of home gym. He was not a fan of Planet Fitness, so he wasn't going to go sign up for that. So we're kind of working out. He'd come over, we'd do workouts, so every Christmas, it's like our tradition now. So like every Christmas they come over, on Christmas Day and we do a workout. So first it was in my basement gym and now it's our local gyms that we do them. So I think we've done it 3 years in a row. We did our basement gym and we did one here at Anytime Fitness when I was first a member there. Now we're over at Bent Barbell, and then this last Christmas we did Bent Barbell. So we do a workout every Christmas. So yeah, come a long ways. Got here kind of because the first senior pastor for the first time. A lot of things going on, a lot of food events, a lot of things. So I kind of stall out. I'm working out, I'm doing pretty good. I've got new and better kind of relationship with food, but it's still, so I kind of stall out at that, I'd gotten down, I don't know what I'd gotten, somewhere between 308, 315, kind of up and down for several years. And then I get a little more intense. I start picking up my intensity. And so currently I am at, as of this morning, I am at 299.8. I got down to 299. I ended up going to Disneyland, for those of you who follow the YouTube channel as well. I was training. It was 55 days. I recorded a workout almost every day, getting ready for Disneyland because I knew I was going to eat a bunch of stuff. I wanted to get my weight as low as possible. I got down to 299, went to Disneyland, came back at I want to say it was 317. I got that back down. So I'm now at I've been right around 300, 301, 302, up and down for about a week and a half. Today, I finally, for the first time, since Disneyland, got back down. I am at 299.8. So this is the lowest I have been since 2011. So biggest I've ever been in my life as far as muscles, and so you can't really tell in this video that much in this baggy shirt I'm wearing, but muscle wise I'm the largest I've ever been in my life, and weight wise I am the lowest I've been since 2011. So I'm on a good path. My goal is, and it's a little bit unrealistic, but I want to get to 291 by next Tuesday. So today is Wednesday. By next Tuesday, I want to try to get to 291 before I leave. I'm going to First Form's Summer Smash. It's their 10th one, 10th anniversary. It's going to be my first one. And so I want to hit 299. I don't know. It's it was basically a 10-pound weight loss. It's, I don't know if I can do it. Probably not. But it's just a motivator to, not slack off this last week before I go. So that is that. I left a lot of stuff out, so I think I'm going to do a part 1 and part 2. So I'm going to go ahead and leave this here. This is a good first level. This is going to be my origin story, part 1. I'm going to come back in the next episode and fill in some gaps in between there and some of the things I left out. So yeah, that's episode 1, my origin story, part 1. If you like this, if you're interested in following along, subscribe, maybe share it with your friends. As you can tell from already this first part, there's a underlining kind of tone. We're going to be talking about fitness, but the beneath the plates is we're also going to be talking a lot about mental health, to be honest. I am, not only am I endorsed as a chaplain, I'm currently in a program where once I finish, I will have my I'll be a certified mental health coach as well, and so I'm going to be wrapping that up here pretty soon. My wife has already gone through that. I will be hitting that pretty soon and having that same certification and training. And so we're going to be talking about fitness, bodybuilding, but also a lot on the mental health side. And, you know, so I talked about some of my struggles. We'll talk more about that in part 2. So if this is something you're interested in, please share it with your friends, like, subscribe, the whole thing. Thank you. See you next episode.